Hey you guys, it's Peter, and I'm back. Of course I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. Beast. Peekaboo. I see you because I'm YouTube famous now. Available Christmas 2022. Shimmy, shimmy, sexy Santa. The album, Dad, and rocking around the Christmas tree. You guys, I have been sitting on this floor for so long now. This is my third drama video in a row that I am filming. And I mean, like, I get up and I like take a little bit of a break in between, like maybe like a 2 or 3 minute break. But I feel like I'm in that movie Rent, or the play or the musical or whatever, where it's like 565,600 minutes or whatever the words are. 522,400 minutes. I don't even know. I like Googled it to see what the words are, and now I don't know. What is it? 565,600, 525,600, 500. I've lost my mind. Oh my God, I don't even know. I'm actually, you guys want to know a little funny story about this? Okay. So I know, like, I did not get this gay gene. I'm sorry, but like, I don't love musicals. Okay, I don't. Like, when I was growing up as a little kid, I loved the music. I loved the musical Annie. Okay, like I used to. I've told this story in my vlog before, but. So, in our library that we had, I used to like sit in there and I would do like casting for Annie. I was the only child, okay, first of all, so just imagine. And like I would do this casting for Annie and I would put on the album. And I don't know why, but my song that I would always sing would be Maybe, you know, like maybe far away or maybe real nearby, or whatever the words are, okay? But anyway, I would play out the whole thing like I was standing there, and then I, like, in my head, I would imagine there was like 6 of us that were auditioning for Annie. And then, like, that the casting director would be, like, narrow it down to, like, 3 of us. And then, like, I would lean over. Like, seriously, like, my mom, I was probably, like, 6 years old at the time. And my mom would be, like, cooking in the kitchen, like, right down in the hall. And I would, like, lean down. I would look at the 2 imaginary Annie cast members. And I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you didn't make the cast, right? And then it would be down to 2 of us. And then, of course, I would be the one that got cast as Annie. See, because the sun will come out tomorrow. But, like, I liked Annie, that was it. And then my mom, her daughter was in Oklahoma at her school, and we went and saw it. So, Oklahoma, Oklahoma, okay. And so I knew Oklahoma, and my mom loved, she loved, what was it, the one that my mom loved. My mom loved a lot of musicals. She loved The King and I, and she loved The Music Man, Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana. Anyway, and then the only other one that I loved was the one with Audrey Hepburn. Why can't I remember what? My Fair Lady. Oh my God, I used to do that one too. We had a basket in the kitchen, and I used to like carry this basket around, and I would dress up like an old woman, like, you know, like in the market in England, and I'd be like, lots of chocolates for me to eat. That one, I used to play that out. But other than that, I don't love musicals, okay? And I have to tell you, I do not. I despise rock operas, okay? I don't even know if I've ever seen a rock opera. So, years and years and years ago, everybody was talking about Rent, and it was when it came out on like a DVD, right? And so I was like real excited, and I had like, you know, come home from work for the day and everything like that. I got my fountain pop, I was sitting on the couch, I was so excited about it, and I put it on, and like right out of the gate, they start singing, right? And I called my friend Tanya Jean because she loved it so much, right? To this day, Les Mis is like one of her favorite movies of life. And so like right out of, I called her up and I said, Tanya, I said, what? I'm confused. They're doing all this singing. She goes, oh yeah, it's a rock opera. You didn't know that? I go, oh no, Lord, I'm going back to the video store. I'm getting me Basic Instinct or something because I love that movie so much with Sharon Stone. But anyway, so yeah, to this day, I've never seen the movie Rent. So I don't know that song. Sorry. But that is truly how I feel like I've been sitting on this floor of this hotel for that many minutes. I do have to tell you another funny story about movies too. So this girl that I used to work with back in the day, God love her, right? So her boyfriend, this sounds so bad, but it's the truth, okay? Listen, it's the truth, okay? Listen, Linda. But her boyfriend used to sell her boyfriend and this guy that we know also, 2 of them, they used to sell those bootleg movies. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It was like movies that would be out in the movie theaters, but like it would be somebody that would like take them. This was before like phones, like iPhones. So they would take like an actual like movie, you know, like this camera right here. They would take it into a movie theater and then they would just like film the movie, right? Okay. So this was when Passions of the Christ with Mel Gibson was really big. And so I bought it from her boyfriend for like, I don't know what it was, like $9.99, you know, that he'd open the trunk of his car and then you could buy whatever DVDs you wanted, you know, and knock off colognes and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so I get home and my ex and I, we were so excited because we really wanted to see this Passions of the Christ because everybody was talking about it. And we're like 20 minutes into it and the people are talking and we're so confused. We have like no idea what's going on, right? And so I call her up on the phone and I was like, Nicole, I'm so confused. Like, what is going on with this movie? And she was like, what do you mean? And I go, I don't understand. Are they, because they speak in Latin in the movie, if you didn't know that, okay? They speak in Latin. And so I'm like, I'm confused. What's going on? And she was like, oh, do you not understand what's going on? And I go, no. I go, where are the subtitles? And she goes, oh, well, he couldn't get the subtitles on the camera because it like wouldn't fit, like when he was filming the camera. And I go, okay, so we're supposed to just watch this and not know what happens. And she goes, don't you know your Bible? No, Tati, no, because I'm a sinner. Gargoyles, Ouija boards. I was actually sitting in here while I was filming my last video. And I was thinking to myself, it would be so funny if somebody just like walked past our hotel room outside in the hallway and they're like, what the hell is going on in that room? Oh my God. Anyway, so for those of you that love to timestamp my videos, go ahead and timestamp it at 6 minutes and 52 seconds. But anyway, I had a lot of fun talking about all that. So I hope that you had a lot of fun hearing the stories of my life because I would just love to tell stories of my life. I could care less about all these fools that I do drama about over here. No, true story. That's the truth of the nature all day long. I just love to tell stories. I think y'all already know that. But anyway, so I knew that we were going to be on a vacation this weekend because my husband had this work conference. And so I was like, okay, well, in case some drama doesn't pop off, I will do an unpopular opinions video because I haven't done one for a while. So I like put up on Instagram and I was like, tell me what your unpopular opinions are, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so this gets good. So anyway, I put it up on Instagram. I got hundreds of responses, okay, of what people wanted to hear my unpopular opinions about. So I'm sitting on a plane yesterday, and needless to say, I had downloaded a bunch of shows, White Lotus, that I couldn't watch offline, okay? So I was bitter! I was bitter of the world, and I ended up watching this documentary that I had downloaded called God Forbid about Jerry Falwell Jr. Oh! If you guys have not seen this documentary, you need to go check it out, okay? It's crazy town. So anyway, so I'm sitting there, and do you ever do this while you're on the plane? So I noticed that the woman that was sitting next to me, she was going through her voicemails, and she was like looking at each of them and deleting them, and I was like, well, I was trying to kind of be nosy and see if I knew any of the people that she knew, but I didn't. I didn't know any of them. So anyway, so I started going through my pictures and literally went all the way back in time, and I started deleting like receipts of Jeffree Star from like 2016, because I was like, I probably don't need those anymore. So anyway, I made it all the way through this week, right? I know it's hard to believe. And I just was like, do you ever do that with your pictures? And it's like slide, 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 slide. Because often I'll have like 3 pictures of my dog Boo Radley, and then 2 pictures of my husband, and then like a selfie of me, Prune. And then I'll have like 15, 20 pictures of Nikita Dragon or Jeffree Star or something like that. And I don't need those pictures because you can find everything you need online. So I was just sliding and sliding and deleting, right? Well, what I didn't realize was I didn't realize it until I was halfway through that I had deleted almost all of the requests for what people wanted me to talk about in my unpopular opinions, okay? Now, this was about 2 or 3 days after I had put it up on my Instagram story, so I couldn't go back and find out what people, do you get what I'm saying? I couldn't go back and find the answers anymore. So we're going to have to do with what we're given. So I have about 60. I have about 60 unpopular opinions that people wanted to know what I had to say. So we're going to go with those. Okay. So let me pull this up. Hold on a second. Let's go to the very first one. Now, I haven't really read through these, so I don't know what I'm going to get, but my opinions. Real Housewives of Potomac. Okay. So, as many of you know, I am like a Real Housewives super fan. I love the Real Housewives. And in fact, if I knew more about it, and by know more about it, that means if I read the blogs and I listened to the podcasts, I would probably turn my entire channel over into a Real Housewives channel. That is how much I love them, okay? My husband and I watch everything Real Housewives, Ultimate Girls Trip, all of that kind of stuff. My best friend, Tanya Jean, she does read the blog. She does listen to the podcast. She knows everything about it. And so, like, with all my friends, I talk to Housewives. I love the Housewives, okay? The one show I actually do not watch is Potomac, and I have really, really wanted to because it is so hyped up, and I heard it is so fantastic, and I don't know why I never did. I think, like, when it came out, I just was like, okay, this is like another one, and, like, I never really watched Dallas either. I didn't watch the first season. And then my husband watched it, and so I went back and I like caught up with it, and then I watched Dallas, but I don't even think I watched like the last season of it. And so it was kind of at the same time maybe Potomac came out, and I was like, I can't add another franchise to what I'm watching, so I just didn't start watching Potomac. You know, there was no other reason for that. But I've heard it's so good, and I want to watch it so bad. So I think I'm going to go back and start watching it again because I really, really want to watch Potomac. So I've heard great things about it though. Okay, relationships. Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, if you want to be in a relationship or if you don't, you know. I think there's a lot of people that want their cake and eat it too. I think there's a lot of people that are in relationships, you know, they want to be, what's the country music song? I can't remember. Daytime friends and nighttime lovers. You know what I mean? Like, there's those kind of people that they want to be husbands when they're at home, you know, and they want to be flirty when they're in the office. Oh, and then all the girls were like, isn't he so handsome? Oh my God, if he didn't have a wife. Well, he does have a wife, okay? He does have a wife. And he shouldn't be flirting with you at work, okay? He shouldn't. So anyway, that's what I think about relationships. I do, you know. Did you ever watch back in the day, you want to know what I truly think about relationships? Okay, this is what I think about relationships. I mean, I've been with my husband 14 years at this point. You know, if I say anything jokingly about a relationship, somebody will like be like, oh, that Peter's like not in love anymore. I've been with my husband 14 years, okay? We've been married for 11 years. Like, I can make any joke that I want to make about marriage or a relationship at this point because I've been in it long enough, right? And I'm very, very proud of it. I'm very proud of having been in a relationship that long. That being said, I'm kind of like what I would describe, and I always have described as a monogamy whore. You know, don't get me wrong. I know it's TMI. Back in the day, I had my fair share of one-night stands. You know, listen, okay? They wanted it. What was I supposed to say? No? I mean, they did, though. I thought I looked like gold back in the day. I did, kind of. I looked good back in the day. Not so much anymore. But anyway, I mean, it's not like people are begging for my OnlyFans or anything. So anyway, but I've always wanted just to like have a boyfriend and be in a relationship. That's what I've wanted, you know? And so like Alex and I have been together 14 years. My previous relationship was 6.5 years, and my previous relationship was 5 years. And that's been pretty much since a year after I got sober. And that's been the duration of almost my entire sobriety, you know? And I'm very, very thankful for that. And even before that, I had boyfriends that I dated for, you know, 6 months at a time or whatever. I very rarely, like since I've come out, went long periods of time without dating somebody. In fact, it was funny because I can remember before I got with Alex, I went on a couple dates with this guy that said that he remembered me from back in the day when I was drinking. I didn't remember him, but he was cute. He was real cute. But he said to me, even though he kind of turned out to be a little bit of a stalker, so I hope he doesn't watch my videos. But anyway, he said to me, he said, you know, he goes, I always wanted to date you back in the day, but you always had a boyfriend. And I go, that wasn't true. And he goes, yeah, it really was. And then I was like, yeah, it kind of was really true. Like, I always did have a boyfriend. I think the problem with it was that I feel like in the past, I always needed to define myself over somebody else loving me, and I don't do that today. Like, that is one of the greatest things I've learned from us being in marriage counseling and from me just being in counseling, is that if I am blessed enough to find another person to share my life with, like, that's awesome, right? You know? And like, for me to choose to be with somebody and for them to choose to be with me is like an amazing thing in life, right? But I don't want to be in a relationship because I feel like I need that to define my self-worth. And I don't have that today, you know? Like, I would be devastated if my husband and I didn't make it, but I also know that I'll be okay. Like, as a human being, like, I'll continue to exist and thrive. I'll be sad, but I'll thrive, you know? And I think that's important because I think when you're in a relationship and you feel like, I just can't even imagine how I would ever exist if I didn't have this person, then you're defining your existence and your self-worth off of that other person. And I did that for so long, you know? It's like, if I didn't have a man or if I didn't have a guy in my life, then I wasn't worthy, or I didn't matter, you know? Or I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't good looking enough, or I didn't have my crap together. And that just wasn't the case, you know? So anyway, that's my thought on relationships. That got kind of serious, didn't it? Well-liked books, classics or newer. Well, you know what is so funny? I was actually going to do a video about this on, I feel like a lot of books get like so hyped up on the bestseller. Can we talk about Colleen Hoover for a second? Okay, so like, here's an unpopular opinion. I don't like Colleen Hoover books. I don't. I read that Verity. I thought it was okay. You know, like, I just don't really understand the hype of the Colleen Hoover books. I really don't get it. I actually think that some of the content that's in there is highly problematic. So anyway, but people just eat those books up. People love those books. I don't get it whatsoever, but those are some books that I don't like. The other thing is this, is that back in the day, I used to read, I was actually going to do a booktube video comparing Colleen Hoover to James Patterson, because Colleen Hoover is just throwing out books at this point like this. And I think it's because of her popularity. Back in the day, I loved James Patterson. And when I read Kiss the Girls and Along Came a Spider, it was like, I mean, he literally sat down and wrote those books. He doesn't do that anymore. Like, he has a team of people that write his books for him. He's a machine at this point, right? Which is why at any given time that you go to a bookstore, he's got 15 books out, right? And it's kind of sad because they're so horrible, it's hard to even get through one. And I know that there are still people that love James Patterson, but for years, you guys, like, I can remember Tanya Jean and I going to the grocery store, like, after a meeting or whatever, and I would get, like, the newest James Patterson book that had just come out that night, and I would go home and I would sit there and I would read it, and it was hardback, and I was so excited about it. And I don't ever do that with, you know, it's very rare that I get really excited about a book release anymore. I haven't been really reading a lot this year anyway, because I've had a hard time really focusing. Taylor Jenkins Reid, I love all of her books. So, and then the same person also asked, well-liked movies you didn't love. Okay, so I've never seen the, I thought about doing this video on my review channel and doing a review of it. I've never seen Elf. I think it looks corny and I think it looks stupid, but I am going to watch it. And I've never seen The Notebook. Can you believe it? I've never seen The Notebook. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I'm just like, every time I'm just like, ugh. There's a lot of movies that people, oh, okay, I'll tell you this. This is so funny because I was just watching this on the news that it's getting nods for Oscar nominations, and that is Maverick, the new Top Gun movie. Hated it. I thought it was horrible. I thought it was like one of the worst movies ever. And all of my friends, we left it, even my husband, we went with like a group of like, with two other couples. They all loved it. They were like, oh my God, it was so great. It was so great. It was so great. I was like, oh my God, it was so boring. I couldn't wait for it to get over. Tom Cruise looked so bad in it. He looked so old, except for the parts that they photoshopped the hell out of him. I just was like, this was so bad. Why didn't they bring Kelly McGinnis back into it? You know, I love Jennifer Connelly, but it didn't really make a lot of sense. And I just was so confused by the whole thing. I thought it was so bad. I thought it was so bad. Oh my God. Okay. So, any unpopular Real Housewives opinions I would love to hear. You asked like, he knows who he is, and I can't say his name because his name is like not a common name, so people would know who he was right away. Okay, so, I know that Nene Leakes people don't like, and they think that she's a total B, but and that she left the reunion and just like put that paper down. But I love Nene Leakes, and I wish that they would bring her back to Atlanta. I love Marlo Hampton. There's something about Marlo Hampton that reminds me of a very dear friend of mine, and I don't know, there's just a lot about Marlo that really reminds me of a very dear friend of mine, and I really feel for Marlo. I feel for her story. I don't think that she's right about the things that she says and the way that she goes off on people, but I understand it to some degree, you know. I don't know, like, you know, Phaedra and the whole situation with Kandi. I feel like Phaedra was kind of set up for that a little bit, but I don't think Phaedra needed to say what she said about Kandi. I mean, Kandi's worldwide. I love Kandi, but Kandi's kind of boring at this point, right? Like, I mean, there's no real storylines with Kandi anymore. I wish they would bring Phaedra back, and they would do, like, I wish that they would do, like, in-between kind of shows where they, like, had a sit-down between, like, Phaedra and Kandi, if Kandi was open to it, and have, like, Phaedra talk to Kandi about what had happened. And they asked Phaedra, like, on the Ultimate Girls Trip if she'd be willing to do that, or maybe it was at BravoCon, I don't know. And she said she would think about doing it, you know, like, I think there's... The thing about watching The Real Housewives is that there's so much... It's like Meredith and Lisa on Salt Lake City. Like, the whole situation... Like, I really, to be honest with you, I struggle with it. Like, Lisa... Okay, so if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Meredith on Salt Lake City, like, and Lisa were friends. Lisa goes off on Meredith, throws off her what do you call it? This is the very end of last season. Throws off her microphone and goes off and starts calling Meredith all these horrible things, okay, words, and says all these horrific things about her. Lisa this season has apologized, you know, 50 times for it, and Meredith really is struggling to accept it. You know, it's kind of like Laguna Beach, where it's like, or not Laguna Beach, The Hills, where, you know, whatever her name is, I can never remember it. It's like, you know, Heidi says to Elsie, you know, like, can you forgive me? And she goes, I can forgive you, but now I want to forget you. I don't know, like, I could forgive somebody for saying the things that they said about me if it was like that, but I don't know that I could forget it. Like, I just would be like, wow, like, you feel so horribly about me. Like, have you ever had somebody that feels like that deeply, like, resentful towards you or anger towards you? It's like, you really can't ever see past that again, you know? So I don't know that I would be able to see past that again. That's another sit down that I think, there's so much damage that happens on these shows sometimes at the expense of the show, that I do think that somebody needs to be brought in for there to be some kind of mediation that occurs. That's what I think sometimes. Okay, let's get on to the next one. Let's see. Elon Musk. I mean, I don't think much, honestly. Powerful, rich, a genius, crazy. I mean, I don't know. People go crazy wanting to talk about Elon Musk. I'm like, you want to buy Twitter? Buy Twitter. I don't care. Close it down. I don't care. I think it's toxic anyway, you know. I mean, you know, I think this is the thing, I think, right? So I watched this documentary, okay, and it was called Angels and Demons, and it was about the guy that owns Victoria's Secret, and he owns L Brands. He doesn't own it anymore. I think he's retired. And he owned, like, Abercrombie and Fitch. There was a whole documentary about that. He owned, like, limited stores, Bath and Body Works, and all this kind of stuff. Well, when you watch this documentary, it stops becoming about him at some point, and it becomes about, like, how he had signed over, like, $200 million of his businesses to Jeffrey Epstein, okay? And all of these people that were involved, and politicians, and all this stuff behind the scenes, and all this kind of stuff, right? Like, I don't live on that level, okay? And I'm very thankful for that. You know, I live on the level of what kind of coffee am I going to make on which kind of K-Pod today, and how long can I sit on my front porch, and what kind of, you know, drama video am I going to make, and where am I going to get food from tonight, and what TV show should my husband and I watch. And I live a pretty simple life, and I'm really grateful for that, you know. I'm going to be sober, you know, 28 years here in a couple weeks, if I should make it that far, because we don't borrow time in recovery. And, you know, so I've been sober 27 years and 11 months and a week, you know, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And that has afforded me this life beyond my wildest dreams. I have a very simple life. I would not want the life of Elon Musk. I wouldn't want to be that arrogant, cocky, ego-driven, where you think about spending $44 billion on buying Twitter, or million, or whatever, $1 billion, I guess, you know, and then, I don't know, and then firing all, it's too much for me, you know? So to me, sometimes, like, all of that stuff, like, it makes me feel very stupid and very dumb, but, like, I kind of, like, when people ask me, like, what do you think about this? I kind of sometimes, I don't, honestly. You know, it's like, and it's not me being negligent, it's me, like, Elon Musk is gonna do what Elon Musk wants to do, and the rest of us out there are just we're gonna pay the price, you know? So it's like, I guess pay your $8.99 or $7.99 if you want your blue check mark, is how I feel about that. Okay, so let's see. People are overrated. I mean, some people, I guess, are overrated. I don't know. Gingerbread houses. I love them. I love when people, like, really get into them and, like, really get into the art. Like, the hotel that we're staying in, they have, like, all these gingerbread houses downstairs that they must have done on something that, like, are on display. I love when gingerbread houses, like, people really get into, like, doing them. I just don't. Like, I like the idea of it, and I like wanting to buy a kit to do it, and then like 5 minutes in, I'm like done. I'm like, okay, my walls don't want to go up, and you know, like nothing's working on this, and my peppermint sticks are falling apart, and I'm done, okay? I'm done, let's just throw it in the trash. That's kind of how I feel about gingerbread houses. Okay, going to every function, multiple family houses during the holidays in one day. You know, okay, so I did a rant video, and I kind of joked about this, and I got some comments. Maybe it was more like direct messages I got, and people were like, you should be so lucky that you have family, and you're complaining about it, because we went to my in-laws' house, and then we went to my cousin's house for Thanksgiving. And, you know, then people were like, I don't even have family, whatever. Okay, that was a rant video. 1986 is looking for your sense of humor because apparently you've lost it somewhere along the way. I want it to be made very, very clear. My mom has passed away. My aunt and uncle have passed away. I have so many friends I have lost, the majority of them to addiction, but also many of them in the last 2 years, I've lost 2 dear friends that were also my sponsors in the past. I've lost people that I used to spend holidays with that just were my life. I take holidays very, very seriously today, and I'm very grateful for each and every place. If I went to 5 places for Christmas or Thanksgiving, would it be overwhelming to me? Would I get tired? Sure, that's me being a human being and just sharing my truth and living out loud. But I'm extremely grateful that I have anywhere to go, you know? And one of the things that I love about my in-laws and my cousin is they always invite people that don't have places to go. Like my aunt used to do that, you know? And I think that's so cool. And it's such a kind of recovery concept. Like my best friend, she always does that too. She always she throws Thanksgiving for all the people that work at like her kennel, you know? And then says to people that don't have places to go for Thanksgiving, come over here. My sponsor does the same thing, you know? I think it's so cool. So I don't complain about it. I'm grateful for it. You know, the day could come where I don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and I hope somebody is generous enough to invite me, you know, and include me. There's something about being included to things in this world, you know. This was supposed to be a funny video. Y'all are getting me down, okay? Christmas shopping, well, I think that's another thing that's like, that's easy to complain about, right? But like, we should be grateful that we have people to shop for. And I was actually watching this thing about Christina Randall. I love Christina Randall so much, and I consider her a friend. And she was talking about like buying presents for people, and that she'll like meet somebody like at a grocery store, and she just like, you know, like the checkout lady, and she'll like want to buy her a present because she like falls in love with her right away. And she's like, are any of you out there like that? And then she comes back and she says, this is on her Instagram story today, she said, you know, like, by the way, I'm filming this on Friday and this is going to be put up on Sunday, but she said, you know, even if you don't have any money, you can still give. Like, you can, you know, donate volunteer time, you can do this, you can do that. And it's so true, and I think we sometimes forget that. And, you know, like this year, I'm not spending a lot of money on Christmas. Like, I'm just not. Like, I'm not, like, sometimes I go way overboard and spend a lot of money, and this year I'm just not. But I'm really trying to find very cool, specific things for people that really mean a lot to them. I think that's what I'm going to do in the future. But I'm just grateful that I have people to, you know, buy presents for in my life. So, okay. Let's go on to Jaclyn Hill's Made in China $140 necklaces. Well, I was going to do a whole video about this. There's a lot of people that are calling her out for this. That in an Instagram story, I think it was, she was showing one of her necklaces and it said Made in China on it, but she's paying like over $100, or he's charging over $100 for these necklaces. But I saw a lot of comments from people. The reason I didn't make a video about it was that I saw a lot of comments from people that were saying that there are a lot of jewelers and there are a lot of people that outsource to places like China to have to have stuff made at mass. I know that people think like I'm super unfair and that I just want to drag a fool like Jaclyn Hill, but that's not the case. And if a topic comes, you know, across my desk, so to speak, or is brought to my attention, and I'm like, no, I don't really want to talk about that. I don't think there's a lot of merit to it. I'm not going to talk about it. I will, if people want to bring me more information on that, and I feel like there's something to talk about there, I will. But I do think that's true. I do think there are many other companies other than Jaclyn Hill that are you know, posting exorbitant amount of money to, or expecting, you know, a huge amount of money for their goods when their goods are made, you know, in other places, you know, in China, when we know that's an inexpensive place to have things made. So I don't think she's the only one and should be necessarily, I don't think it speaks necessarily to her character in the way that I think her failed launches, her lack of excuses, or her lack of explanations or excuses and things like that do. It's going to stop. Hold on just a second. Okay, so I know that that's kind of an unpopular opinion about Jaclyn Hill, but I'm not going to drag Jaclyn for everything that she does just because, you know, she's Jaclyn Hill or just because she does it, you know. I know that there are people out there that want me to do it, you know. Trust me, I keep a very close eye on what Jaclyn does, and there's a lot about her that I have, you know, huge issues with and all of that, you know, but I think that's not one of them. So anyway, all right, let's go on and see. God, so many people ask me about the Housewives. Hold on a second. Christmas music. I love Christmas music so much. My two favorite albums this year are Cascade's Christmas album. My husband started playing it in the car the other day and it was fantastic. And the other, my favorite Christmas album is A Holly Dolly Christmas because it has songs from Smoky Mountain Christmas. Okay. Women with natural gray hair. You know, I think it's an interesting question that you asked me. I think there's a lot of women out there that look absolutely beautiful with natural gray hair. My mother back in the day always had platinum blonde hair, like forever, right? I don't know if I've shared this story on here or if I've shared it on my vlog, but when I feel like I had been sober a couple years. My mom got, and so she had been sober a couple years too because my mom got sober 6 months after I did. She got alopecia. And my mom lost all of her hair, and it was devastating to her, and she was getting cortisone shots in her scalp, and she was wearing hats, and she was wearing scarves and things like that. And so she would go to the dermatologist, and she would get these shots in her scalp, and she said they were so painful. And so finally, at this one point, the doctor said to her, you know, I think it's time that you start going the route of wigs and start looking at wigs. And so this was, you know, back in the day when it was like not the greatest wigs out there. You know, I think that they have more comfortable wigs today and things like that. And so my mom, they had like a medical wig store in the doctor's building. And so my mom went down there and she was like trying on these wigs and things like that. And she said she just started crying in the wig store because it was like itching her head. And she just was like, you know, she was like, I can't believe that this has happened. Like, she was like, it doesn't, like, they were showing her like curly wigs. My mom had straight hair, you know, and she just was, it was so itchy. It just, you know, it was the comfort of the wig that really bothered her. And so she just left. She said, I'm done. I'm done with the cortisone shots. I'm done with all of it. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so she just like shaved off the rest of her hair, and she like just from that point on, she just was like, it is what it is. So like, this is so crazy. Like 2-3 months later, I think anyway, she like she cut it real short. She had like just little pieces here and there that would stick out, and she cut it real short. So like 2 to 3 months later, my mom's hair started growing back, like all of it, and it came back thicker than it ever had before, and it came in like brown and gray. It was like this really bizarre kind of color. It was like it was brown, but there was like tints of gray to it. It wasn't like gray here. It was like, because it was like, you know, growing out all in length, and my mom really, really liked it. But the thing that she didn't like about it was that, oh, you know what? This would have been the year that we got sober, because this was my cousin's wedding is when my mom has her hair. It's like this length and it's that color. So that would have been the summer that my mom got sober is when this happened. So anyway, so I can remember we would talk about it at the time. And for the next 10 years, we would talk about it because my mom would say, I'm spending so much money on hair color. I had my hair colored from 23 until the day that I got married, or the day after I got married, I started growing my hair color out. But, I mean, hair color is so expensive. It's hard to go in a pool. It's hard to go out in the sun. Y'all know, right? So anyway, my mom was like, I just want to let it grow out. But the thing is that I feel like if I grow my hair out, it's going to age me, you know? And, you know, the thing is, it's so interesting about it. This is just real talk. Let's have real talk, real unpopular opinion. People don't want to talk about this stuff, right? Okay. So I started growing my hair out. Here's my hair, not done today, just hat hair. I started growing my hair out when I got married, and I was, I think, 39, 40 when I got married. I don't remember, it was 11 years ago. So, yeah, 39. So I got married, so I started growing it out on our honeymoon, right? And let my hair grow out and then have my beard, and my beard started coming in white. No. I started growing my beard out, and so my beard started coming in like salt and pepper, whitish colored, right? And my hair, I was still getting colored, and had been getting it colored since I was 23. And I would tell people, like, my hair started turning white when I was 23. And people would be like, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. And I'm like, yes, it is true. And so I said to my hairstylist, I want to start growing my hair color out. I had said to my dad, what do you think? And he goes, about coloring, like, continuing to color my hair. And he goes, Pete, just let it go. He was like, you know, just be natural with it. And my dad calls me Pete. And so I did, and I said to my hairstylist, I said, I want to just start growing my hair color out. Like, I don't want to color it anymore. She was like, are you really sure? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, I don't really think it's going to be that gray anyway. And I remember I came in for the next appointment, and my regrowth was literally, it was like brown to white. And she couldn't believe it. She was like, I cannot believe that you are this white. And so it did. But I will tell you one thing that happened is literally when it finally got to the point where we cut all the brown out. It was like overnight that people would guess me for being like in my early 30s before, and like afterwards, people literally guessed me for 55. I mean, it was like, it aged me so much, and that was always my mom's fear. I think the thing is that the world that we live in, although I hate saying this, I think this is slowly starting to change, which I'm so thankful for. Is that, like, I think that men that have white hair and graying hair and wrinkles and things like that are seen as wise or experienced, as sexy, right? Whereas women, it's not seen that way. And so it's like women are seen as like not keeping up and things like that. And I think that was my mom's fear. And the reality is there is a lot of truth to how society perceives women with gray and white hair. I wish it weren't that way. I think it's total BS. I think it's crap. I think the double standards that women have to live by is unbelievable, right? But I can tell you the amount of times that women come up to me and they're like, oh my God, your hair is so sexy. I love your hair so much. And I'm like, thank you. And that never happened when I had brown hair, right? You know? But do I think that that happens with that many women that have white or gray hair naturally? No, I don't think it happens. But I will tell you this. Being able to wash my hair and with shampoo and conditioner, any that I want to, I not have to have color treated shampoo and conditioner, being able to go out in the sun, being able to swim in any kind of pool chlorinated or, you know, in the ocean water or whatever, not really care how it affects my hair is so freeing that growing my hair out gray and white was so freeing that I would recommend it to anybody, no matter what gender you are, you know, because it's just such a freeing thing. I had a friend of mine recently, I actually saw her at my old sponsor's funeral, and I hadn't seen her like probably in a year, and like her hair was brown the last time I saw her, and now it was like long and it was white. I mean, and she looked amazing. It looked so beautiful. And I think, you know, do it. If you want to do it, do it. You only have one life, right? Hell, if you grow it out white and you don't like it, change it back, you know? I sometimes think maybe I'll change my hair back, but probably won't at this point. All right, let's pick just a couple more. And let's see. On a first date, who should pay? Oh, this is always just such an interesting question, isn't it? I don't know. I kind of feel like whoever asks should pay. But, you know, here's the thing. What I don't think should happen is that you should argue about it when the bill comes. You know, when the bill comes, if somebody grabs it and says, let me pay, the other person should just say thank you. And, you know, that's something that I'm very thankful that my mother always taught me, was that a simple thank you is all that is necessary. Just don't fight too much. You know, if somebody wants to pick up the bill, let them pick up the bill. You know, that's I think, a sign of generosity and kindness if they want to do that. You know, you don't have to fight everything. It's not like, you know, I have a friend of mine, it's like anything that I ever want to do for, if I want to buy a meal for, if I want to, this is not Tanya Jane, by the way, if I want to buy a meal for, do this for, do whatever, put some gas in their car, it's like they fight me on it. I'm like, just let me do something nice, you know what I mean? It's just like, sometimes I want to be a nice person. So that's what I think about that. Okay. What do you think about the love triangle drama on Dragula? I did see this question actually. Well, there's not so much a love triangle anymore because one of the people is gone. I thought, like, it's so funny that all these people are getting so upset about, that are on the show, they're getting so upset about the drama on the show. I mean, for me, the drama of Dragula is kind of what makes Dragula a little bit. I love Dragula. I'm a bigger Dragula fan than I am a RuPaul's Drag Race fan. And if you guys know Dolly, that won last year, oh, hubba hubba, like, I think he is so fine. I think he is so hot. And I've said it in a million videos. But anyway, and he was on last week's episode as a guest judge. But, like, what do I think about the... I don't know. It's weird to me because, like, was there like a love triangle, or did they just kind of had admiration for each other? I was very confused about it. I was more confused why other people in the room were getting upset about it. I was just like, let them live their lives, you know? Casey Anthony is innocent. No, she's not. She's not, and that's an unpopular. Your opinion is unpopular. I know people are watching that documentary now and they're saying that, but that's what she wants them to think. Jeffree Star is irrelevant. If he gets ignored, maybe he'll finally go away. I think he'll go away because I think that social media won't benefit his business anymore, and so Jeffree Star doesn't do anything that doesn't benefit him on some level, and I think that when it doesn't benefit him anymore, he won't do it. Okay, let's see. Drag Race. I mean, I love Drag Race. I'm watching Canada versus the World right now. This is my last page of questions that I didn't delete. People don't like coffee. They like creamer and the fixings. Oh my God, this is so funny. I'll end on this one. So I have a friend of mine, and when we go through Starbucks, this also is not Tanya Jane, but she literally orders her coffee and she's like, I'll have a grande. It's like, I don't even know what she gets, but it's like a grande, and she gets like 6 sugars, 4 creamers at 100. She's like at 180 degrees or something. Like, it has to be exactly this way. And I mean, I took a sip of it one time, you guys, and it is so gross. It is literally like sugar and creamer, and there's like no coffee. You can kind of taste the coffee in there, but that's it. Which is like, whatever, do you? You know what I mean? Tanya Jean and I went through Starbucks the other day, and I got a venti. I mean, I don't go through Starbucks every day like I used to, you know? And so I got a venti cinnamon dolce latte, and she got a venti decaf vanilla latte with extra whip and an extra shot, and it came to $15.7. I was like, oh my God, damn it, Janet, this is so expensive. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know that Starbucks, I feel like I've become my mother with the whole price thing, right? Like, I didn't remember how expensive Starbucks was when, back in the day when I would do reviews, I would spend that much on one drink. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I really had a good time doing it. I love you so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.